Hi Year 1! So I am here then with our lesson 2 for this week of our history learning. So last lesson we had a look at the timeline of the Great Fire of London and when things happened, and we made a timeline where we drew pictures. Some of you wrote some sentences about what happened each day that there was the fire. So I've got a few questions just to recap what we learned last lesson. So first question, in what year was the Great Fire of London? Say it out loud, tell your grown up, what year was it in? It was in the year 1666. Next up, where did the fire start? What type of place did the fire start in? And can you remember the road? What was the road called? Have a think, tell your grown up, say it to yourself. It started in a bakery on Pudding Lane. So the street was called Pudding Lane and it started in a bakery where they make cakes and bread and things like that. Okay, next up then, final recap question. What happened to the weather that meant the fire stopped spreading so quickly? So when the fire started to slow down, why did that happen? What had changed about the weather? The wind slowed. What's going on? The wind slowed down. So at the start of the fire, it was so windy. It was spreading the fire along. The embers were blowing and it was making the fire spread. But by the end of the fire, the wind had slowed down, so it wasn't roaring the fire along so much. So well done if you remembered all three of those. So today we are going to be comparing houses in 1666 to houses today. And there are quite a few differences. We're going to have a think about them together. So I thought we'd start with houses, the sort of houses we recognise and we see today. So I have started with a picture of my house. Firstly, apologies about the Christmas lights. We are still waiting for the ladder to be able to take them down, but I assure you we have not turned them on since the start of January. So they are just up, but we'll just ignore them. So there are some features about houses today that are different from houses in 1666. So the first thing I want us to have a think about is, what is the house made of? What are houses today built out of? It's a bit harder to see on my house because it has something called a render over it, which makes it this whitish, creamish colour. But underneath it, you can see kind of at the bottom what they are made of. Does anybody know what they are called that we use to build walls to make our houses? Bricks. So houses today in 2021 are made of brick. Next up, we have got a certain type of roof. Can you think about what the roof is made of? What do we call that type of roof? It is a tiled roof. So the roof is made up of individual tiles. That is called a tiled roof. Next up, what have we got parked on the drive that they probably didn't have parked on the drive in 1666? A car. They didn't have cars in 1666. They didn't have driveways because there was no need, because there was nowhere to park their car. Whereas now, most houses have got at least one car parked outside. Okay, next up, you can see there is a bit of space in between the houses. I know that this is a semi-detached house, which means it's attached to another house. But in between my house and then next door, there is a bit of space. So if you look around the streets, houses are a bit more spread out. So there's space between houses. And then the final one, maybe I should move my arrow a bit. I've put an arrow to the light outside. Do you know what that light outside is? What is it called that makes us have lights and power in our houses to be able to plug in our TVs and things like that? That is called electricity. So if we have a recap of the features of a modern house, we've got electricity, made of brick, tiled roof, space between houses and a car. And now we're going to have a look at a house from 1666. So this is the best picture I could find. Obviously, It is a drawing. They didn't have cameras in 1666, so it is a drawing of what the houses looked like then. So there is the main difference is what they are made of. So houses today are made of brick. What do you think houses in 1666 might have been made of? They were made of wood. So houses in 66 were made of wood, and they also had different roofs. And their roofs were called thatched roofs, which are made of straw and things like that. So they're made of wood and they've got thatched roofs, which is like straw. Have they got a car parked outside their house? No, they haven't. There is no cars in 1666. And then can you see how close together the houses are? And there are lots of people living in these houses. So they are very close together. And then the final thing, which you can't see on this picture, you can kind of see a bit down here. And I thought I'd put down here, lots of houses back then had these black beams on them. It's a Tudor style house. You might notice some houses today still have them because it's a style of house. But back then, lots of them had these black wooden beams on them. So we have had a think then about those different things. You might want to jump back on the video to remind yourself of the 2021 house, or have a look at this one to remind yourself of what happened. So if we are looking at these houses, we can see from the 1666 house why the fire spread so quickly, which is what we are going to come on to next in our next lesson of learning. And one of the main reasons is because the houses were so close together. They are made of wood, which is extremely flammable, which means it's set on fire easily. And the wind pushed the fire through them. So it all spread very quickly just because of the way the houses were. So what you are going to do for your activity today is you have got a sheet like this one, and it says houses in 1666 and houses in 2021. And then you have got 10 features of the houses that I want you to sort into the correct column. So whether they belong to the houses in 2021 or in 1666. If you can think of any more features that I've missed out, you could write them in. So that is your first job. Second job is optional. It is a challenge. And that is to write 3 sentences to compare the houses. So an example of a sentence that compares is houses in 1666 are made of wood and houses in 2021 are made of bricks. So when we write a sentence to compare, we say something about one house and then the direct comparison to the next house. So it'd be houses in 1666 and houses in 2021 but it needs to link to the same thing. It would be not quite right if we put houses in 1666 had no cars and houses in 2021 were made of bricks. We want to be comparing the same thing, for example, what they are made of, whether they have a car or no car, whether they have electricity or no electricity. So I would love to see as many of you as possible to complete the challenge, but I would hope to see everybody to complete this activity. And remember, you can go back on the video anytime if you need a reminder of the different features of the houses in 2021 and the houses today. Have fun, and I can't wait to see how you get on. See you next time.